Hello, in this video we're going to find the 6 trig functions of the point -2 square root 3 for the x-coordinate and +2 for the y-coordinate. Now, I am a visual person. I like to represent this as what is the reference right triangle that represents this situation. So I know that the x-coordinate is negative and the y-coordinate is positive. So what quadrant am I in? I'm in quadrant 2, right? So the x is negative and the y is positive, so I'm here. So what happened is I rotated, there was some angle that was rotated here into quadrant 2, and then you have your terminal side. And then to represent that, even though this is the actual rotation, to represent it, we represent it with a reference angle by dropping a perpendicular to the x-axis. And then your reference angle is between the terminal side of the angle and the x-axis. So your reference angle is right there. Now what we're told is that the x is -2 square root 3 and that y is 2. So what we need to find is all 6 trig functions, and what you absolutely want to do is memorize these definitions in terms of x, y, and r, all the 6 trig functions, and know them like the back of your hand. It'll make your life so much easier. But essentially, if you look at the definitions, they're all in terms of x, y, and r. So we already have x and y, we just need r. And then we fill everything in. So what is r? Well, I'm on a right triangle, so I can use the Pythagorean theorem. So x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. So x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. So -2 square root of 3 squared plus 2 squared is r squared, right? Let me just make sure I didn't shift out of the, yeah, I'm good. Range of view. All right, so this is technically -2 square root 3 times -2 square root 3, right? That's what the squaring means. And so this part here, negative times a negative is going to be a positive. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. And then square root 3 times square root 3 is going to give me a 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then here I'm going to have plus 2 squared is 4. Is equal to r squared. All right, so 12 and 4 is 16. And that's going to give me r squared, right? Now I want to take the square root of both sides. Technically, I have the absolute value of r is the square root of 16, which is 4. And so r is plus or minus 4 when you remove the absolute value, but we know r is representing the distance, and the distance is always positive, so it's just 4. So now we have r is 4. So now we know x, y, and r, and all we have to do is plug in x, y, and r into their respective placeholders, depending on the definition. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have here, we just write that x is -2 square root 3, y is 2, and r is 4. So when I look at sine of theta, and again, theta is really something I don't know. I just know I can still find, because I know the lengths of the sides of the right triangle, I can still find their ratios, so I can find the 6 trig functions. So sine is y over r, which in our case is 2 over 4, or a half. Cosine of the angle is x over r. So x is -2 square root of 3 over r is 4. So I get negative square root 3 over 2. And then tangent is y over x, which in our case is 2 over the -2 square root 3, which is -1 over square root 3. Now, they're going to want you to rationalize, so you can't have a root or a radical in the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 1, and when I do that, the denominator will be a whole number. The denominator won't have any radicals. And here I have negative square root 3. Okay. Now to do the reciprocals, or the remaining 3, the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So technically that's r over y, but I just have to take the reciprocal of a half, which is 2 over 1 or 2. And the reciprocal of cosecant is secant. So that'd be r over x, but in this case it's going to be the negative of 2 over square root 3. And I can't have the square root 3 in the denominator, so I rationalize by multiplying by 1. And I get negative 2 square root 3 over 3. And finally, cotangent of the angle is x over y. So I'm going to have, now I could do that over here, although I could take the reciprocal and say, oh, that's 3 over the negative square root 3, and then rationalize. I might as well just do it here. Let me take the reciprocal here, which would give me a negative square root 3 over 1, which is a negative square root 3. Now I don't have to go through all that rigmarole. So there are your 6 trig functions. Thanks so much for listening.